Good evening, all. Ira Epstein, and here we are with your financial market wrap-up. And this wrap-up is for the evening of Tuesday, the 28th of October, 2025. All right, my friends. Here we are getting on to 7 p.m. in the evening. Already, if you look at the gold market, you drop down to 39.30. I mean, we're only 2 hours into the opening, and you've already come back. There's a point here at which you're running the stops, you're running out of the sellers on them, and I'm starting to look for a bit of support. I wouldn't be touching the stock market up here. I know you're all going to say, but Ira, it's making new highs. You'll see technically what I'm saying. Markets that go like that eventually get your pullbacks the way that the gold and other markets do as well, and we'll get into the right mode. You have data tomorrow that you got to pay attention to. You're going to get the Mortgage Bankers Association numbers at 6 a.m. Then at 9, you're going to get the September pending U.S. home sales. The Federal Reserve, their 25 basis points, I said it wrong, 25 basis point cut on interest rates. I think that's just a given. The market will be very disappointed if they didn't get that. And could there be surprise of 50? There always could be. You don't know, but why would they do that? They can afford to go slower here, and their excuse is they don't have the data. So they want to get ahead of the curve. They want to make sure things are right, that the jobs are staying in place. That's why they go to 25 points, but we'll hear what the Fed chair says afterwards. We did get this afternoon the API numbers, and they all came out on the bull side, big drawdowns on every area there. And at 9:30 in the morning, we get the petroleum number. But the big event is Thursday, when we see just how Presidents Trump and Xi get along, what they can accomplish in baby steps. If you're looking for a monster step that they're putting all their differences behind them and we're buddies again and everything's fine and intellectual property's been resolved and fentanyl issues are resolved and soybean purchases are happening, you're reading dreamland, all right? Steps, one step at a time. The first thing is for both countries to stop the accusations. The second is to find a common footing where they can talk and put things back together. We know they're a competitor. We know that their way of doing business is different than the American way, and it's not going to change. Will they flood markets where they can, they being China, and make goods and dump them wherever they can? That's the nature of their economy. Okay? That doesn't mean that tariffs are going away. Countries that wake up to that and want to protect their own industries will. So there's much of that going on. There's vying everywhere for, hey, who's the good guy here? America, China, you're going to get all that type of talk. On the energies part of it, I expect there to be stability coming into the market for a bit. We're still trying to figure out who's going to buy, who isn't going to buy Russian oil, who can buy some. India's floating the idea that if they don't buy from Rosecraft and some of the other big ones and they buy from the smaller producers, will the U.S. allow that? And it doesn't break the deal. I don't know. We're going to find that out. Grains are just opening, and as you can see, fairly stable on the open right now. Interest rates with the Fed tomorrow, why would you want to take a bet one way or the other? It makes no sense. Has the market built into 25 basis points? Absolutely. It's what the Fed chair says that'll move the market overnight, and that'll be the big thing you look at. On the S&P, what can I tell you? You're up already midweek, 1.5 points. That's a pretty good gain to an all-time high on a closing basis. You've gapped, you broke out to the upside, you haven't given up any. So anybody that is short, think about this. For every long in the futures, there's an equal short. All these people that are short are wrong. This market's at all-time highs. You've got the pattern of higher lows, higher highs. It's still bullish. The market has fought a battle, past tense at the 18-day average. It won the battle when it broke out over this high, and it went and it just gapped away on you. People realized they were caught. Now, you're at a resistance point. You're running the upper Bollinger Band, and you're overbought, not embedded yet. So you don't need a reason to all of a sudden wake up and, boy, you're lower and the market's correcting, whatever. But There's nothing bearish on this chart other than it's overbought, and that can convert to being embedded and lock in even higher prices on this run. That's my point of view. You're doing the same thing already in the NASDAQ, and notice how you're running the upper Bollinger Band. You've broken out of this sideways pattern. You've already taken from the high to the low, and you're about there on the range. You've flipped the range, in other words, and you're at a zone that you've got to pay attention. But I don't see anything bearish. If anything, what if China says, yeah, we'll allow some NVIDIA chips to come in or other things? You can have more bullish than bearish news, but what's carrying the market? If you really look at the market, it is still the AI stocks. It is the software, the hardware to support all that. That's what's going on. Every morning you wake up right now, what are you hearing? Oh, there's another deal between ChatGPT and PayPal. There's another deal here for this other part. That's what's going on. So if you're in there buying stocks that you say, well, they're going to move eventually, not necessarily so. That's my problem for you. The Dow's not the same good look that you're getting in the others. Don't get me wrong, you're at an all-time high. The other charts, though, came out of better formations, and the worst looking one is still the Russell. And why? Can't answer other than most of the companies in the Russell are not that profitable, if profitable. Number two, it counts on lower interest rates. You need to get that. But what do we define as a lower interest rate? That's going to be the important thing. How many more cuts are we going to see? And we are going to see more, in my opinion, because the Fed, once they make one cut, they do several. All right, it's rare that it's one and done. You don't get that. All right, and we've had it before. We already saw the cuts, then we saw them pause, and now they're moving. In the DAX, as I said yesterday, the market was likely to come back up to fight the battle right here at the 18-day average. It's doing it. It's not trending. It's got the momentum up because of the swing line, but it refuses to close over the 18-day average. I see it in no man's land. Then the bonds and the notes. Why get involved? We know that the Fed's, in theory, going to make that 25 basis point cut. Is it in the market? Probably. Does the market rally or break on that news? Let the market tell us. Why do you need to play the gamble? You pulled back where the Fed has the most influence, which is the shorter term. That's where they have all the influence. And you've added yield. You heard me. Not subtracting yield. The lower futures go, the more yield you're acting. You're in a downtrend. You're holding right here. Wow, that's not what most people thought. I did. I told you I thought they were going to start playing with the curve yield and get it more balanced, and that's just what's going on. In the dollar index, you've got the swing line down, the bias down, but the pattern is while you got lower highs, you have higher lows. Let it tell you what it's going to do. It hasn't done it yet. In the eurocurrency, it's trying to be bullish. You've got the higher lows, higher highs, momentum still pointing up. So until you take out the lows of 2 days ago, this market's still looking good. If it were to take off to the upside, the resistance is the 100-day average, 117.43 to 116.90, the Bollinger Band. But again, what's the advantage of jumping in front of the Chinese, U.S., whatever the deal is or isn't going to be? It's too difficult, I think. Aussie dollar, finding its support and moving away to the upside. It's very overbought. It could stretch up here, but it's already in rarefied air. Bitcoin, the resistance point, I've mentioned to you the 3 days that I've been doing the videos again, starting the weekend. I thought we'd have resistance at the 100-day average and the 18, and you do. You have the momentum via the swing line pointing higher, but the bias is down. Market just hasn't told you what it wants to do next. Then we come to all the energies. And obviously the U.S. putting the tariffs on everything put the kibosh on. So you got the rally. Oh, nobody's going to be able to do anything with the Russian oil. Everybody's got to run and buy OPEC oil or U.S. oil or Venezuela. Somewhere they got to buy the oil. And that kicked it up. Now reality setting back into the marketplace a little bit. Let it finish its thing. You certainly don't buy Bollinger Bands on heating oil up here, but you save your ammunition because you're going to get the type of plays that come down I think you'll find support in this whole area in heating oil, and I think you want to be bullish eventually for that first real cold spell that hits the United States again. Same in the nat gas. You had your big run up, you're filling a gap in the chart. Do you see that? That's what's pretty much going on. Give these markets a little time. You don't have to be early. Be a little bit late, and I think you're better off in some of these plays. Now, remember, you can go to our website. My research is there. I am putting out my morning subscriber videos. I'm putting out buy and sell recommendations. Have been doing this from my hospital bed. Remember, I was in the hospital for a little while. It didn't matter. I did what I could as best as I could, and I did a lot. In any case, you click up here, it'll take you right there. You'll see the icons. Get on board. I think there's going to be a lot of fun between the end of this Thursday deal and the rest of the year. In other words, let's get through this Chinese-U.S. deal. Keep our fingers crossed that these two leaders of the two world's biggest economies can find the way to reach an accommodation with each other that isn't a constant harassment. I'm Ira. You have yourself a great evening. Watch the other videos. I'll catch up with everybody tomorrow. Have a great night.